Oh, no, we're starting now.
I'll cut this down. All right, waiting. All right, here we go. Where is
the... Powered by Riverside.
Hello and welcome everyone. Anchor.fm/4th and 1. This is the 4th and 1 podcast. Simeon's back with his carbonated apple juice. I love it. It is a Wednesday night tonight, September 15th, because I'm going on vacation this weekend. So our normal day for Thursday, we were not able to do. However, hopefully, the man who pushes all the buttons with the carbonated apple juice will be able to get this out before Saturday afternoon after the games have started.
Hey, it was Friday afternoon last week.
Well, on Spotify, it was Friday afternoon. On
right.
YouTube.
Took forever on YouTube, and YouTube messed us up. It would have been out on YouTube. I thought it was going to be out on YouTube. It was the whole thing. You know, we're the worstest podcast in the world.
On the interwebs is what it is, actually. Normally, it is. Week 2 is in the book, and it was... okay. I mean, it wasn't anything spectacular. There was a lot of news to come out of it. Texas really went down to Arkansas and kind of got beat up a little bit. There's huge news coming out of USC. So, you know, as the season progresses, the storylines get deeper and deeper. The stories kind of emerge, and you get lost in the maze of college football. But I am here for it. I am excited. So why don't we just jump right into this check down, because we got a lot to cover, especially for this week. So check down it is. The Big 12 chancellors and athletic directors. Am I like purple tinted? I kind of look like Thanos right now.
You do kind of look like Thanos right now. You are a little bit purple tinted. I don't know why.
I don't know why.
Let's just move on. People just listen for our silky smooth.
Well, that is true. They don't look at me for my sexy looks. Anyway, the Big 12 chancellors and AD and athletic directors voted yes to BYU, Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF to join. Now, the timetables, BYU will join in the 2023-2024 football season. And then Cincinnati, Houston, and UCF, which is all currently part of the AAC, are planning to join in the 2024 season. However, the AAC came out and said that they aren't, that buyout and that negotiation could be reworked. That's the wording I'm looking for there.
Got it. It's okay. End of segment.
Clay Helton, USC, coming off a dreadful loss to Stanford after Stanford had a dreadful loss in week 1 to a team that is escaping me. But USC should have definitely looked better. They did not. They lost 42-21 and got manhandled. So Clay Helton is out 2 weeks into the season, which tells me that they really weren't sold on him for the season before the season started. Now, possible replacements. James Franklin, Penn State's head coach, is being thrown around as a candidate. Of course, Urban Meyer, who's in Jacksonville. The problem is you can't go out and get an NFL guy because of the early signing period for recruits. So unless if you're going to convince an NFL guy to leave his job early, like an Eric Bieniemy, offensive coordinator for Kansas City, Adam Schefter reported, he would have to leave the Chiefs in the middle of a playoff hunt at the end of the season to take over that program and try to get recruits. Clay Helton provided some stability to USC's coaching carousel. It was Lane Kiffin, then it was Steve Sarkisian, both at Ole Miss and at Texas, respectively. Now, then it was Ed Orgeron, who is now at LSU. And then kind of Clay Helton kind of stabilized things. He kind of won with Sarks and Kiffins and Orgeron's kind of like recruits there. And he won a Rose Bowl, and he was kind of up and down. They were undefeated last year, and then got beat by Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game. So they're not where they were when Pete Carroll was there. I think it's the inconsistency that really ended up killing Clay Helton there in Los Angeles. I was going to say Pasadena, but that's UCLA, so I can't.
Listen, man, I'm trying.
Yeah, and I'm on the struggle bus. The Buffalo Bills, will be requiring fans to be vaccinated to attend NFL and then hockey games because they have a hockey team. You must at least have one vaccine starting the end of this month, the 26th of September, and you must be fully vaccinated by the 31st of October, which is you need 3 or 4 weeks to get vaccinated in between the 2 doses. I would honestly really like to hear your thoughts on this. I'm not overly thrilled about it. Yes, this is the way the world's going. It's not really my favorite part about the world right now with all the mandating of the vaccine, especially I think there's some misconceptions surrounding it. I am vaccinated. We're both vaccinated, and I would encourage people to go out and get vaccinated. However, I'm not sure that mandating that vaccine to go to an NFL game is really the way to go.
Let's hit this up after this last segment here.
And then on the other spectrum, the NBA, there was some talks earlier that the NBA would require players to be vaccinated. The NFL currently does not, and the NBA will go the same way. They won't mandate the players to be vaccinated, but it is expected that there will, much like the NFL, be different restrictions for vaccinated and unvaccinated players as there is right now in the NFL. So again, I think it's a good idea to get vaccinated, but I'm not exactly down with all the mandating, so I'm kind of glad that the NBA kind of left it up. But, if your employer, if you want to work somewhere and your employer says if you got to jump 10 times before you can work for us, then you got to jump 10 times. If you're getting paid millions of dollars like these athletes are. So, I could have gone either way, but it's just part of the news, I guess, just part of the check down.
It's one of those, that was the check down. Brought to you by nobody. Actually brought to you by you, the listeners. Go to anchor.fm/4th-and-1. There's a support tab there. $1, $2, whatever you got. Greatly appreciated. Helps us with little things that we can do, like bet money on games, which we'll pick up to a little bit later.
Comment down below who wins the game of the week. It is either P or it is A for Penn State or Auburn, and you don't want the P in the A because that's a little weird.
Alrighty.
But the A's going to P, so I'm kind of glad that Penn State's not going to Auburn. But anyway, comment down below, P or A, who's winning this week. Let us know. We'll let you know who we think is winning later this week. But you were saying about the vaccines.
About the vaccines, I've had a weird situation with the vaccines. As Micaiah said, we're both vaccinated. This is one of those situations where it was kind of poised to us from a perspective of it's going to fix everything, the world's going to get better, we'll be able to go back to normal. Then it came around and we realized, wait, that's not how vaccines work. We kind of forgot. I'm saying I completely was like, okay, we'll be fine. And I'm like, no, that's not how vaccines work. We're used to things like polio and stuff that don't exist in the world, but we get vaccinated so they stop existing, so they go away. When it comes to professionals and your job requiring things to do, I have to take a P test tomorrow to get my new job. Like, it also. It doesn't make sense. Like, I get it. There's the political sides. There's the health science side. Like, if you're old, you should get vaccinated. If you're around old people, you should get vaccinated. If you don't want to get vaccinated, don't get vaccinated. But also, it's one of those things that this is the Bills and whoever owns that family, which most people say it's not a good family from what we hear. It's kind of like Spanos in now LA, what used to be San Diego. It's just one of those things that is a little bit surprising from coming out of, especially the Bills area and the Bills Mafia, and especially with how big their fan base is there. It doesn't surprise me at all from the NBA. That's a player-driven league. The players run that league, not the fans, which is why it's surprising from the Bills' perspective. I think from a political perspective, I'll stay out of it. It's a little bit annoying that we're having to mandate all this stuff. I get we don't want to, stop the spread, that sort of stuff. We want to do that. Sorry, not want to do that. We want to do that.
No, we just want the global pandemic to keep on trucking.
But at the same time, I feel like we kind of, from a personal perspective, I feel like we've kind of figured this out. We can all take a step back and breathe. Everything doesn't have to.
It became personal with me.
Like, it doesn't have to be personal. Like, it doesn't need to be. We really just need to. And calm down. And be like, you're not vaccinated?
I'll allow it.
It's okay. Like, hug a dude. Go see a football game. And, the most people who are going to die are at risk, and they know that. It's like any other disease that's out there now. Be smart. We still 100% recommend you get vaccinated. I still think I'm going to be shooting straight, if you get what I'm saying, in a couple years when I want to have kids. I'm not worried about it. And if that's the case, there are plenty of kids who you can adopt. There are plenty of kids who you can foster. Highly recommend doing that if you're able to. If you can't have kids, it's extremely fulfilling. Me and Makai grew up in a church that was very adoption happy with a lot of loving parents. Very successful, from what we can tell. No kids have messed up yet. Just calm down, take a deep breath, move on.
I see it from both perspectives, and I respect it from both perspectives.
Yeah.
I respect the owner of the Bills wanting and mandating it, hopefully for good reasons, and I understand that, and I respect his decision, and I respect his right to do that. I don't necessarily agree with it, but hey, that's life, and we're here about, showing respect. So we're going to figure it out. We're going to allow it, and we're going to move on, and we're going to get into week 2 review here, and then we're going to preview week 3, the 5 biggest games in my mind, and then we're going to give you Simeon's lock, and that's how it's going to go. And guess what? You might be vaccinated, you might not, but guess what? You just got to love each other. Wash your hands, you filthy animals.
Yep.
And
Be
as
healthy, unlike me.
And be kind to one another. My goodness. But anyway, let's jump in.
Micaiah, guess what moment you just had again?
Oh my goodness.
You just had a Carolyn Schlicker moment.
Oh. All right, Simeon. So, what is my mantra?
Can you turn your mic down a little bit? Sorry. Just a tad bit. Doesn't have to be much.
Okay.
Mantra is it's easy to win football games if you can run the ball.
Excellent. Is that lower?
Yeah, that is. I'm turning you up. I turned you down a little bit. You just got real close, and so
I see.
which is totally fine.
Sorry,
Just a little hot. You're good.
I get excited,
You're good.
man.
We're figuring it out. We're the worstest podcast on the interwebs.
We got it. All right. So, it's easy to win football games when you can run the football. That was so evident this week on College Football Final, which is on ESPN. Takes place about 3 a.m. However, I record it and watch it the next day. I cannot tell you how many teams were over 300 rushing yards. Wisconsin, Auburn, Michigan, just to name three of them. Oregon was pretty close. Nebraska was over 300 rushing yards. BYU was pretty close. Arkansas was pretty close. You run the football, you dominate the line of scrimmage, you control the game clock, and that's all she wrote. Anyway, let's jump into it. Probably the biggest game of the day. Ohio State taking on Oregon in Columbus. Simeon, you said take Oregon plus the points. I said take Ohio State minus the points. It turns out you were right. Oregon comes away with a 35-20.
I'd like to take this chance to apologize to absolutely nobody. The double champ does what the he wants.
Oregon.
That's the wrong soundbite, but still.
Oregon dominated the line of scrimmage and has the type of talent, both defensively and offensively, the type of athletes to be able to compete with the big dogs like Alabama, like Ohio State, like Oklahoma. Because these are all kids that should be at USC. They're from Southern California. Ohio State's passing game is elite. They threw for almost 500 yards. C.J. Stroud was unbelievable in that game. They had 3 receivers over 100 yards receiving. They had 120 yards rushing. But the problem is their defense and defensive line and offensive line, they couldn't run the football effectively, and their defensive line could not stop the Oregon running game. C.J. Verdell was 162 yards on the ground and 2 touchdowns. And the thing, they kept getting touchdowns. Simeon, how many? They ran the same play 3 different times for touchdowns, right? The crackback block, yep.
Yeah.
The running back goes
to the corner.
Yep. The running back
Like
starts
a sweep
inside.
play, weird, yeah.
Starts inside, then bounces it out because the wide receiver comes down and blocks the defensive end, and that it's wide open. Ohio State has to fix these defensive issues if they want to be national champions and in the college football playoff. Because right now, with a loss and the way your defense got pushed around and your offensive line got pushed around, especially late in that game when you had to pass against Oregon, who didn't even have their 2 best defensive linemen, the number 1 overall pick, Kevin Thibodeau and Flo on that defensive line. You got pushed around late in that game. When you go to play Penn State, well, that's going to be an issue because Penn State has some monsters. When you go to play Michigan State or Iowa in the Big Ten championship game, good luck, Ohio State. You need to figure out your defense. Your offense is elite and will continue to be, but your defense, you got to figure it out.
I'll just say it. I don't even need
All right. Michigan, the night game. Repping my Wolverines here. Michigan has a stout defense. Aiden Hutchinson is an absolute monster. He single-handedly wrecked Washington all game long. So I'm glad to see that Michigan still is getting some talent. Michigan's running game, I would say, is more than solid, borderline on elite. Against Western Michigan, fine. You run for 340 yards. Everyone doesn't blink twice because it's a MAC team. Then Washington comes to town with a legit defensive line and linebackers, and you run for 340 yards. It is the 3rd most ever in the Harbaugh era. Out of the top 4 rushing games in the Harbaugh era has happened in the last 2 weeks for Michigan. Here's Michigan's problem. Their pass defense, they're still playing a lot of man-to-man coverage and blitzing a lot. That's going to bite them in the butt when it comes to Ohio State, and I'm hoping they figure that out. But also, there's no vertical passing game.
Hold on. Sorry, I have to interrupt. You're right about the no vertical passing game. I have a comment about that. But the second thing is, Oregon was rushing the ball. When they weren't playing their freaking annoying AF soft zone, they were rushing. They would bring blitzes when they needed to bring blitzes, and it was extremely effective.
Who?
Oregon.
Yeah, I'm talking. Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. When you play Ohio State, it's going to be fine. That's a horrible point, is what I'm saying.
No. But
what I'm saying is you're wrong, and you need to be okay with
all
it.
Michigan all Michigan has done the last 2 weeks is basically playing a slightly different version of what Don Brown was because they are more talented than the 2 teams. The Western Michigan and Washington did not threaten them through the air, so they played a lot of man-to-man. The problem is, if you play a lot of man-to-man again against Ohio State, it's not going to work out well. So I'm hoping that, yes, they play a soft zone like Oregon, and they just kind of keep everything in front of them. I'm good with that, but what I'm saying is I have yet to see that.
I see. So you're skeptical.
Yes, I am skeptical because Michigan has taught me to be skeptical. They also have no vertical passing game, and
You're skeptical because Michigan has taught you to be skeptical.
in the last 2 weeks they have thrown the ball 26 times. Now Cade has been efficient, but he only threw the ball 15 times on Saturday night for 44 yards. He completed 7 of them for 44 yards.
That's what I'm more worried about there from a completion percentage perspective. Because here's the deal. This is what I texted you Saturday. Why throw the football if the run game's working for you?
And clearly Jim Harbaugh went to Josh Gaddis. One of the commentators, Todd Blackledge, said this during the broadcast. He said, clearly Jim Harbaugh has gone to Josh Gaddis over the offseason and said, we're going to get back to running the football the way I am. So I don't know if this is just establishing the ground game and then bringing the quarterback and the passing game along later. But it's going to get a lot harder now without Ronnie Bell. But they have plenty of wide receiver talent. So I'm skeptical. I'm more hopeful. I started at 30% during the season, up to 50% after Western Michigan, and I'm going to give it a good 60% now.
It's interesting. They have, they're ranked.
25, yes.
They're ranked, and that's probably the best ranking that the AP has in their AP poll. The coaches poll is much better and much more accurate to go off of right now than the AP poll.
The AP poll's a joke, yes.
The AP poll is a joke right now. Go off of the coaches poll. It's much more accurate. But what you're seeing here right now is they have that's me knocking on wood. They have an easy game in northern Illinois. Then they have Rutgers and then Wisconsin.
That right there, 2 weeks. 2 weeks,
yeah.
And it's in Camp Randall.
Right.
So it's going to be on the road. My guess is it's going to be a 3:30 or even a night game. Game day might even be there. If Michigan wins the next 2 weeks and looks good doing it, they'll probably be like 18 by that point. Low 20s, high teens, and Wisconsin will be somewhere like 15. It'll be a good matchup, and it'll be a good test because the last couple times that Wisconsin and Michigan have played, Wisconsin has absolutely shredded Michigan along the defensive line, and when they're on defense and Michigan's trying to run the ball. So it's going to be a good test.
If Wisconsin can beat Notre Dame, that's going to be a very good game.
Wisconsin plays Notre Dame?
Wisconsin plays Notre Dame this Saturday.
No, they don't.
Yeah. I'm looking at the
Wisconsin
schedule.
does not play Notre Dame this Saturday.
I'm looking at the effing schedule. It's literally right in front of me. Their 12 p.m. game on Fox. It's the big noon kickoff game. What's Saturday, September 25th?
That's next week, genius.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Then because if it's happening this Saturday, then I'm missing a big game here, bud.
I'm sorry. They had the bye week. Normally it's different. I'm sorry.
No, you just freaked me out. You just freaked me out because I missed a big game and I thought
It's on my Friday. Today is my Friday. So anyway, continue.
Okay.
Micaiah.
If you're
I'm being optimistic as normal. You're being pessimistic as normal. It's been that way for our entire life. Continue.
Washington. If you're Washington, oof, you lost to Montana, and then okay, fine, but then you got to get back up for Michigan. And yes, the offensive performance sort of is expected because you kind of lost offensively. That the big house was as loud as I've ever heard it, but you got pushed around for 350 yards on the ground. That's just unacceptable. Let's
go.
Because it's garbage.
Exactly. Iowa State. What was promised as the big hype up afternoon game. Game day was in Ames, Iowa. really turned out to kind of be a dud if you're an Iowa State fan. Iowa has a fantastic defense. They had another 4 turnovers on Saturday. That marked 7 in the first 2 games. Their offense, however, leaves something to be desired. They only had like 220 total yards of offense. They threw the ball for like 130 yards and they rushed for like 110. They're again, what have we said about Iowa though all along? They're kind of very basic. Great defense, fundamental offensively, but they're going to have to open this thing up eventually and get a downfield play action pass game if they want to beat the big boys and Ohio State and try to make a run at the playoff. They have the defense to do it. Iowa's defense is fantastic. That secondary, good luck throwing on it. And their linebackers are good, and their defensive line is just good enough to wreak havoc. Meanwhile, if you're Iowa State, you have gotten these haters early in the season and haven't been able to recover. Now, you did last year losing to Louisiana. You bounced back and made the Big 12 championship game. That's still in play, but you have not looked good through the first 2 seasons. All of your core offensive talent are seniors or fifth-year seniors. This should be a lot better and a lot tidier early on. And their name that's being thrown around is for the USC job is Matt Campbell. So is some writing on the wall here? I don't know. But don't write.
Here's the deal.
Don't write. One last thing. Don't write off Iowa State yet. Wait, let them get to October and then write them off.
Write Iowa State off.
I'm telling you, Brock Purdy
You basically
is
dropped
awesome in October.
You dropped 2. I get that you're in the Big 12, but you basically dropped 2. Technically, you're 1-1. I get it, but when you lose that badly to Iowa,
they outgained.
This isn't.
The bad part is they outgained and out time of possession to Iowa too. They only lost because of the turnovers, and it's every September this happens. And then October they'll look fantastic, and November they'll look fantastic.
When it comes to these these black horses teams,
dark horse is the word you're looking for.
Dark horse. Well, okay, both. I've heard it both ways. So, listen, every single coach who didn't switch jobs last year is in the talk for this USC job. Because Cincinnati, Luke Fickell,
yep,
he's in talk. Started the season great with Cincinnati. He also commented at saying he likes that he's building something, I think. I'm sure Matt
Rule.
No, the guy down in the Louisiana coach, and I'm sure that the Coastal Carolina coach, another big game for Coastal Carolina coming up, is also in the talk for the USC job. It doesn't. Everybody who didn't get a job. Okay, so let's figure out who USC is going to call as a coach. Who, by the way, if they're smart, they're waiting till the end of the season. They're calling an interim head coach. It worked pretty well for the guy that they just fired. So wait and then call it at the end of the season.
The problem is with USC is they need a certain brand of coach. You have to.
They're like Texas. I'm sorry, they are exactly like.
You
Texas.
have to be an L. Yeah, I mean, same thing. You have to be
or Notre Dame.
You have to be like part of. You have to get the brand. You have to be able to rub shoulders and have Snoop Dogg and Will Ferrell on your practice field, and you got to be a little LA. And I don't think Luke Fickell screams a little LA to me. Great coach. Just that's at least what I've heard on the podcast.
I'm ranked top 10. I'm staying there. Because I'm in 4 years. If I can get top 5 this year,
and in 3 years, you're going to be in the Big 12. Yeah, absolutely. Mm-hmm. All right,
move to the next one.
Yep.
Come after me. I'm a man. I'm 40.
You know, one of these times we're going to have that soundbite when I'm talking about Oklahoma State. However, Oklahoma State hasn't looked all that good through the first 2 weeks, but that's neither here nor there.
Spoiler alert for Simeon.
Oh,
foreshadowing.
Nebraska Buffalo, baby. Nebraska, you finally won a game you were supposed to. We said Buffalo. We said Buffalo. Congratulations. We said Buffalo plus the points. It was
not Buffalo.
It was not Buffalo. It was 28-3 Nebraska racked up 500.
What was the points? 16? That was the
It was
spread, I think?
14.
Okay, 14, yeah.
Nebraska racked up over 500 yards offensively and over 300 yards rushing. I already
Made me
touched
look
on.
stupid.
Here's the problem. You had 9 penalties and a turnover. And what did I say last week? Because I listened to the podcast all this week. What I said last week was the problem with Scott Frost is not that they're losing, but that they're really sloppy both when they win and when they lose. They're turning the ball over. Penalties. Catching punts on the 1-yard line, going into the end zone, and then trying to throw it out of the end zone for a safety in week 1. Like, you can't have that sort of thing. Now, it's a good kind of starting point, but here's the problem. Now you're walking into Norman, Oklahoma this week for the big noon kickoff against Oklahoma. And so your defense has given up a ton of yards early on. You have no identity. Your offense is coming along. You're running the ball more, which is good. But the problem is Oklahoma is just going to take the ball and shove it right down your throat. You're a 22-point underdog. You're probably going to lose by 3 touchdowns. And I don't think Scott Frost needs to be fired because he loses to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns. But if he loses to Oklahoma by 5 touchdowns because they have 4 turnovers and 13 penalties, then yeah, maybe it's time to think about Scott Frost. But if they lose to Oklahoma by 3 touchdowns and they have 5 penalties and they have like a crazy interception or just 1 turnover, now you're like, well, at least they're competing. And I was listening to the college football podcast today with all the ESPN bros, as I like to call them. They said Nebraska, when they were really running in the 90s and in the 80s, they never had elite talent, but they always fought tooth and nail for everything. They were like a small school, one of these, like a Cincinnati, that would always just be there and just throw punches, no matter how many punches they took. So, can Nebraska do that this weekend? I don't think so. I think that they're going to run into buzzsaw because Oklahoma just hung 70. Now, albeit on Western Carolina, but still they hung 70.
Listen, I know I just commented on the fact that I'm normally the optimist of the two of us, and that has strained our relationship here or there, I'm sure, a couple of times throughout our lifetime. However, there are 2 things that I have now been pessimistic about that I'm afraid that I'm right on. First, Spencer Rattler. Definitely not a Heisman quarterback. After 3 Heisman quarterbacks that, I just blanked on his name. Lincoln Riley has had.
There you go.
He has an absolute bust comparatively.
What do you,
in Spencer Rattler. Yes, I'm calling it.
After
I'm
what?
calling
After a 2 interception game against Tulane, did you see what he just did against Western Carolina?
It's Western Carolina. I could do that against Western Carolina.
Well, that's not true. You got kicked off your flag football team, sir.
Okay, so did you.
Okay. You had some burning hot takes on the podcast last week. That's another one. You just need to chill. It was 1 week against Tulane. He's allowed to throw 2 interceptions. He's going to win the Heisman.
He's in this year?
Yes.
No!
Book it. He's winning the
right,
Heisman.
Let's look at the odds. I'll look at the odds then for Spencer Rattler winning the Heisman.
Okay.
I'm guessing. Let's just play this little mini game here. Podcast mini game. Brought to you by no one. Brought to you by you, the fans.
Who wins?
10,000.
Who wins the big game this week? A or P? Comment down below. Like and subscribe.
Down below. 10,000. What are you calling?
On the odds that he's winning?
On the odds, yeah.
So you're saying plus 10,000?
Yeah, or minus, whichever one it is. I don't get betting.
He's going to be like plus 450. I think he's the Heisman leader, bro.
Okay. Well, by the way, I should totally.
That's probably not true. Bryce Young's probably the Heisman leader right now. He's probably going to be like plus 650.
Let's take a look. Heisman. Spencer Rattler. Wow, I was way off.
Told you.
You were close.
Told ya.
But no cigar. 900 plus 900. He is currently right there with C.J. Stroud.
And who's first?
Bryce Young.
At what?
You nailed it. 300.
And then who's next?
Matt Corral.
Matt Corral. Old Miss isn't going to win enough games. And then is it them? Where are they?
They're third and fourth.
They're third and fourth, respectively.
They're technically tied for third if we're
Okay,
playing by
go
golf.
ahead. The Oklahoma
He's
quarterbacks.
not. He's not.
He's gonna.
Maybe by his senior year. I'll give him that. This year,
He's gonna go to
no.
the draft after this year, bro. He's a top 5 pick.
Isn't he a sophomore?
He's a redshirt sophomore,
Oh, he's a red.
so he can leave if he wants to.
Okay. Well,
Anyway, let's move on to
drafting
Utah
him.
BYU.
No, I wanted to comment my other thing.
Oh,
My other pessimistic.
oh yeah, I forgot
aspect.
we were on that.
We were on Simeon being pessimistic. Besides Spencer Rattler, it's that Scott Frost is Nebraska's problem, discipline problem. Remember, year after he left, we looked at USC, especially like the second year after he left.
UCF.
All his guys, UCF, all his guys were out there. Remember how they lost all their games that year?
Well, they lost more than none. Yeah, they lost like 4 or 5. Yeah.
Yeah, they lost all their games because of penalties. They'd have literally hundreds of yards of penalty yards.
Yeah.
They were so undisciplined.
Yeah.
They legitimately looked like they should have been on Next Chance U. Like, that's how undisciplined all these guys look.
You're just butchering things. It's last chance you.
That's what I said.
No, you said next chance you.
I said last chance.
No, you didn't.
All right, we'll play it back. Comment down below which one I said because I'm not going to pay attention. So, yeah, last chance you. I think he's their problem. I want to love him because I think Nebraska is one of those brands that needs to be a brand for college football to be awesome. It's like Texas. It's like UCS. UCS. University of California.
Sacramento.
Sacramento, if that's even a school.
I don't.
think it is.
Probably not.
But, yeah, I do. I'm being a little bit pessimistic right now about Scott Frost. I'll hear him out, just like I'll hear out Spencer Rattler. I'm going to be right about him. I'm going to hear him out, though. And now we can move on to my biggest shock of the week.
Yeah, we did not. So we didn't do very well. I went 3-2 in money line in telling you winners, so that's all right. So now I am. That's 6.
Hold on, I'm canceling a bet before I spend. Too much
I'm
money.
9-3 on the year. However, betting wise, what I told everyone to bet on last week, I was 1-4. So I was pretty terrible last week, and I do apologize, but we're gonna be good this week.
Okay. I see you. I feel you.
Utah got out Utah'd by BYU. They allowed 220 rushing yards to BYU and turned the ball over twice. That's Utah forces teams to do that. This was in Provo. This was at night. Everyone was hype. BYU's got a little shot to kind of be in that mix again for New Year's 6 if they can keep this train rolling. I'm still not a believer in BYU, but we shall see. So, yes, we were wrong about BYU. We were wrong about Utah. I'm kind of disappointed in Utah, but again, the Pac-12, because it was non-conference, is still out there for you to take. Sark, I told you went down to Arkansas at the beginning of this podcast and lost after beating Louisiana. He was a little overhyped about after week 1, I think, the Texas program was. Everyone's freaking out that they don't have an identity. He's not doing blah, 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 blah. I told you in an earlier pod, you got to give him time. This program, yes, they had good recruits from Tom Herman, but they didn't have a winning culture. It takes time. All of the Tom Herman recruits, 5th year, 4th year seniors have left. You just got to give Sark to build this program the way he wanted. He has not started conference play. He'll be fine, so just give him time.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. So if you want to hit a button, I can...
I'm in danger.
And just a quick tidbit. two quick tidbits from the limited NFL I watched on Sunday. The Eagles' offensive line looked much better. They ran the ball for 170 yards against the Falcons. Jalen Hurts, could he be the next Lamar Jackson? I saw this fun fact about Jalen Hurts. Jalen Hurts has more 300-yard passing games in his career than Lamar Jackson does. And Jalen Hurts has played 5 games, and Lamar Jackson has played like 30 some.
Why? Okay.
Also, Baker Mayfield was outstanding against the Chiefs in a loss 21 for 28.
They should have won that game.
321 and an interception, and they should have won the game. But here's the deal. You're playing Patrick Mahomes and Tyreek Hill, and that's just
the only way.
It's just going to happen.
F it, throw it to Tyreek Hill.
You just got to run. Cleveland, don't get away from who you are. You got to run that football.
Little quick update before we jump into quick week 2 preview. Me and Micaiah both lost our fantasy games.
We play each other this week.
We play each other, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, comment down below.
Yes.
A or P, and then M or S.
Yeah.
Who do you think's going to win? Right now, I'm favored by 6.
Yeah.
Basically.
And also Zeke Elliott and Aaron Jones. If you can pick it up, because you guys are the only reason I lost last week. And Aaron Rodgers, get your ish together, because I need tutties thrown to your tight end and your running back, and whatever kind of voodoo you're hanging over your team because you're pouting because you're leaving or whatever you're doing. You want to go host Jeopardy? Do it on your own time. I
can't host Jeopardy.
He can do whatever he wants. He's Aaron Rodgers. Anyway, I need a fantasy win this week. So get it together, because I need to beat my co-host. I think
money line is 5.5 right now.
For what?
For the week. That's where the money line's at for us.
Us is the over-under is 5.
Yeah, 5.5. Yeah,
5 points. I think also what we should do is start talking ish on our other fantasy people that we have no idea who they are, and then just post this podcast to the like the chat board
every week. Yeah,
just every week.
Yo, whoever Frank Book is, your name sucks. The Cleveland River Rats. Okay, no, but it's not. It sucks less than Sam Marks's Chi-Town 46. Chi-Town 46. What the F is that? Cleveland, at least that's like Cleveland River Rats. At least that's like creative.
Yeah,
okay,
Chi-Town 46. Okay, let's get into it. You got
There is hold on.
Yeah.
There is Team Dover.
Ooh.
Do you know who their coach is?
Red Rover, send Dover right over.
Do you know who their coach is?
Who's that?
His first name's Benjamin.
Oof.
He goes by his name Ben.
Okay.
Bend over. I kid you not. That's the guy's username.
Alrighty.
On ESPN is Bend over. Anyway, let's preview week 2. We're excited.
We are. Actually, this is week 3.
Week 3. I literally have it named correctly, except it didn't save. So I'm going to name it correctly right now.
So
week 3.
Week 3. Better matchups, more ranked matchups than last week. I'm excited for it as always. Although I'm always excited for college football. However, we have 1, 2, 3 ranked matchups plus some other interesting ones that we'll throw in there. But let's start with the nooner game here. Miami going. Michigan State going down to number 24 Miami. So Miami got blown out in week 1 against Alabama and then was on the ropes late against Appalachian State, a very good Sun Belt Appalachian State team.
Yes.
Michigan State played Northwestern, and then Youngstown State is averaging 299 yards rushing.
Yep.
They're very balanced, 254 yards passing. However, their defense allows about 350.
To be fair, that's about average. It's not low. That's about average for what I've seen.
Yeah, you mean 350?
Correct.
Yeah, that's a good point. Michigan State won 2 games last year, already have won 2 games this year. Mel Tucker has a lot of transfers in there. They have Walker, their running back, is from Wake Forest. He's very fast, very dynamic. Michigan State's got some players. Miami is licking their wounds still from Alabama. I feel like that's what that game was last week. I would have hoped for a little bit more oomph, but Appalachian State gets up for every D1 big school they play since they beat Michigan. Miami, though, hasn't looked groundbreaking offensively, and you should with all 11 returning starters on offense. They average 189, again, through 2 games, 189 through the air and 131 on the ground, and they're allowing 413 yards and 276 passing. They're better against the run, which is what Michigan State's good at. But Manny Diaz is a defensive-minded coach, and he's not defensive-mindedness. Michigan State's getting 6.5. Miami's...
I have 6 here, so...
Oh, okay, so it's even better then. Miami is, I think, hopefully will play better than last week and the week before, but Matt Berry, again, one of the ESPN bros, calls it Alabama shock. You get absolutely railroaded by Alabama in week 1. It takes you a week or two to kind of be like, that's not who we are. Who we are is this. Like, Alabama set such a high standard for everyone that you got to come back to earth a little bit. So, with that being said, Simeon, who you got?
2 things. First, can we ban all names that have a fruit in them? Matthew Berry, Major Applewhite, get him out of here. Don't want him. I want to eat my fruit. Don't want to see him. Second thing.
Okay.
Miami plus the points. Under, it's at 56.5 according to ESPN's Pick Center. I'm taking the under on that one. Don't think it's going to be high scoring. I think actually Miami wins this, technically. And here's why. Miami's really good at winning the games that don't matter. that matter. So they choke, but then they'll go and beat the Michigan States who look like they're coming up after just a coaching change. Right? That's what it looks like right now to me. I think that's why Miami's going to come out and surprise us all. But also, don't put any money on that because I'll probably be wrong. I think you're going to pick Michigan State, though.
I am going to pick Michigan State.
Yeah.
They have a very talented quarterback, again, a transfer. They got a good rushing attack. It's a nooner game in Miami. And that stadium is not going to be full whatsoever. No crowd, at least at the start of the game. Hopefully they'll filter in by the end there. But I think the fans are kind of getting a little bored of Miami, especially noon in Miami. Everyone's just waking up. I'm going to take Michigan State, and I'm going to take them outright to win the game. I like them. Now, I might bet Michigan State plus the 6. But with it being just a touchdown, I think it's a touchdown game either way. I'm just going to bet. I'm going to bet Miami straight up here, but I like Michigan State to win. Actually, what I'm going to do this week is I'm just going to bet all the money lines, even if it's not advantageous to. But
he's Micaiah right now. He's better if you actually bet the money lines now.
I am fantastic if you bet the money line right now.
Yeah.
So
he's if you bet the money line right now, he's 7-3.
Yeah.
If you follow the non-money lines, his betting lines right now, he's 4-6. So yeah.
Yeah, I'm not very good. Well, I'm actually worse than that.
Actually, you're better than that.
I'm 4-8.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was week 0 there for you.
I'm 4.
You're still doing better than I am in my lot.
I'm 4-8, and I'm 9-3 in money line betting.
Yeah. So follow the money lines if you want to win some money. However, money line betting in freaking college sucks.
Yeah, it does suck because you get really bad odds. Absolutely.
You got to find a better bookie there.
But anyway, let's move on. Let's do. You know what? let's just go with the 3:30 game. This is a big game in and of itself. However, it's not the biggest game of the weekend, but it still sort of is. But it's SEC football, so that's how I feel about it. It's number 1 Alabama going to the Swamp to take on the University of Florida. UF, not FU. Florida's getting 15.
No, Florida is FU.
No, they're UF.
No, they're FU. They legitimately are FU.
They're Florida
They're technically
University.
the University of Florida, but when they're on a ticker, they're FU.
Okay. Anyway, Florida's getting 15.5. Their offense is totally fantastic early on. Again, they're playing lesser competition so far. They're averaging 609 yards, 228 yards passing, a monstrous 381 yards rushing a game. Their defense is okay. They're allowing 224 yards passing a game, and their defensive rushing is much better at only 100 yards a game. But most teams are just trying to pass all the time against them because they're so far behind. Meanwhile, you flip over to Alabama. They have the current leader for the Heisman in Bryce Young. They're averaging 462, 310 pass, 152 rush. They are allowing 77 yards rushing and 173 yards passing. Again, this is Nick Saban's, and I put this in air quotes for those of you listening, best defense. If this was his best defense, he wouldn't be allowing that. Alabama has all the studs and the brand. Florida, who plays quarterback? Is it Anthony Richardson, who last week was 3 for 3, came in for a couple plays, passed the ball 3 times, completed all 3 for 152 yards and 2 touchdowns, and ran the ball 4 times for 115 yards. He's a dual threat. Now, late in that game, he kind of pulled up with a hamstring, so we're not quite sure what's going on there. Or is it Emory Jones, the senior, the guy who's waited his turn? Or will it be a combination? It's probably more going to be a combination, but everyone agrees that Anthony Richardson gives them the best shot against Alabama because he's more dual threat. So, Simeon, are you going with Bama or are you going with Florida?
So far, Bama has proved me right. Remember week 0, you're like, nah, Bama isn't there. And I'm like, Bama's going to be there. And guess where Bama was week 1 against Miami? Here's the deal. Alabama has dominated the state of Florida just in general for its entire career, at least under Nick Saban. But then again, Nick Saban's record is phenomenal. I'm taking Alabama. Pick Center has them at 14.5. Call it 15.5.
I made this list 2 days ago, so it probably did lower. Yeah.
Okay. Over under is at 59.5. I think it's a 10 to 14 point game. I don't think it's a 14 plus point game. I don't think it's a 60 point game. This is the best both offense and defense that Alabama has seen, with 609 total yards right now. Or is that average? I don't know how that works anyway. Yeah.
That's average.
That's average. Which, granted, that's against 2 state of Florida teams. But I just don't think Florida's consistent enough yet. I think maybe next year or the year after they'll be more consistent. But, yeah, I pick Alabama, and you're picking Alabama.
So I'm obviously picking Alabama. Now, if you pick the money line, it's minus 800, which means I'm winning like an eighth of a penny. So I'm not even winning a full penny if you bet 10 cents, right? So if you bet $1, you're winning 8 cents.
Right.
Okay. So it's not even advantageous for me to bet the money line. So I will not bet the money line this week, and I will encourage everyone to take the over, because I think Florida is going to score enough. They're going to score 24, but Alabama's going to score 40.
That's a good point. I've been impressed. 14 held to 14 in both, and that's against Mercer, who they could do whatever they want with. But basically, they're averaging 13.5 points right now. That's impressive. But then again, this is the best defense they've seen so far. So who knows? You know?
Yeah, that is true. All right, let's go to the late game. It is number 19 Arizona State, the Sun Devils, going to Provo. And BYU, newly ranked 23 overall. BYU, however, is still the underdog, getting 3.5 points. BYU is passing the ball for 178 yards per game, and they're almost averaging 200 yards on the ground. They are allowing 137 yards rushing total and 383. You flip it over to Arizona State. They are a running football team. They are averaging 256 on the ground. They allow 83 yards rushing. So the note I made here, both stout defensively. However, Arizona State has not looked good against lesser opponents. However, it looks like Arizona State is better defensively. So, Simeon, Arizona State or BYU?
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to play that there real quick. This is one of my locks of the week.
Oh, snap. Simeon's lock. Simeon's lock
that's
of
right.
the week.
That is right. We have another. I have two this week. I saw two that surprised me.
All right.
So a little bit of foreshadowing for you there. Here's the deal. I'm going to take Arizona State. I get that they really haven't played too much. I just like Herm Edwards too much, I think. But also, this is one of those that I'm probably going to be wrong. The over-under right now is at 51, which is a joke for how high-powered offense these two teams have been so far this year against the teams that they have been. The Sun Devils have put up 41 and 37, respectively. The Cougars have put up 24 and 26 against good defensives, respectively. This is going to be a 60-point game, in my opinion. Yeah, it is. At least 50 points, and the over-under is 51. My lock of the week, and this is true, I have it locked in right now on my FanDuel. Take the over.
Oh, buddy. All right. I'm also taking Arizona State. I don't know if you predicted that, but I'm taking it. Arizona State seems, and I'm with you, I like Herm Edwards a lot. I don't believe in BYU. I never have. Even last year when they were undefeated, I don't believe in BYU. They're playing lesser competition. But BYU is at home. Another night game for them. But Arizona State stout defensively. Herm Edwards always goes to, when he's the visiting road team, or if he's playing a school he should lose to, they always find a way to win. They have a more experienced quarterback in Jalen Daniels, and they have a great running game, and their running defense, I think, stops the rushing attack of BYU. It's a close game, but take Arizona State, everybody.
That's going to be an interesting one for me. From a Cougars, from a Sun Devils, like this is a very interesting from all perspectives.
But
from
also,
a conference perspective,
last week between BYU, they didn't even hit 50. They hit like 40 something.
Yeah, but I didn't have to lock them in last week.
All I'm saying is 51's a high number.
Technically, it is
two teams
for
that
what
don't
they're
score
averaging
a lot
right now. But remember, this is a team that put up 49 on UCF last year. And remember, I was off by a freaking half point on Arizona State earlier.
All I'm saying is I think you locked it in. I wouldn't have touched that number. I would have made your lock of the week that Arizona State wins. But anyway, here we go. An interesting game, I think, that is very much off the radar. It's on the ACC network. It is unranked Virginia getting 9 points going to Chapel Hill to take on the North Carolina.
It's 8 points now.
It's what? 8?
It's 8.
Okay, either way. 8 points. Virginia going to take on the number 21 ranked Tar Heels. North Carolina is averaging 480 yards. They are averaging 307 pass and 173 rush. And on defense, they're allowing 283 with 129, 154. Here's the problem with North Carolina. Last year, they were so good running the football with their two backs, 2,000-yard rushers. Sam Howell had the RPO game working perfectly. Sam Howell is the leading rusher of North Carolina. Meanwhile, you flip it over to Virginia. Oh, and that's not very good. Your quarterback should not lead your team in rushing, just so you know. I don't care that rushing wins football games. I really don't, or that it makes it easy. If your quarterback's the one doing it, that's a bad recipe for success. Meanwhile, Virginia's smoking people offensively. 550 yards a game. It's almost all through the air with 381 in the air and 169 pass. Their defense is very similar to North Carolina's, 261 with giving up 260 with 155 pass and $105 on the ground. Their quarterback,
okay?
Armstrong, sort of. It's late. It's past my bedtime at this point.
Got it.
Their quarterback, Armstrong, spun it for 300, almost 400 yards last week.
Currently 48 for 67, 744
Yes.
yards, 7 TDs, and 1 INT.
Yes. Virginia hasn't had talent like this at the offensive quarterback position
There you go.
since I've been following college football. This is a trap game for North Carolina, and it's at night. It's 7 o'clock, so it'll be packed, and it's an ACC game, so there will be people there. Simeon, who you got?
I have Virginia on this one. I think
Virginia winning outright?
Virginia winning. They have get 8 points, so technically no, but yes. I think it's a one-score game. I think it's a one-touchdown game specifically. I don't think it's going to be winning by 5. I don't think it's going to be a field goal last minute. I think I'm just getting a sense that it's going to be a high-powered, like, offensive type game where it's either going to be like 17-10 sort of deal because defenses are putting up, but like they're barely putting up, or it's going to be, 42-35 sort of deal.
What's the over-under?
You're taking the under. It's at 66.5.
Yeah.
So you're taking the under
sure.
here,
Yeah.
but I'm taking Virginia just because I think they're there this year? Question mark. But granted, they've played William and Mary in Illinois, so who knows?
Who am I taking?
I think you're going to take the Tar Heels.
So I thought about this long and hard, and that's why I did this. That's why I picked this game. And I was going to take the Tar Heels until I found out that Sam Howell was the leading rusher. And then I'm like, that's not a great recipe for success. I don't feel good about this, but I'm going to go out on a limb and take Virginia. I would encourage, if you think along my thinking with Sam Howell being the leading rusher and you don't like that, but you think that it being a night game in Chapel Hill with all the fans and everything, that North Carolina's probably going to win this game, I would take Virginia plus the points. However, I'm going to take Virginia outright. I think that this is a down year. And if I cannot stress this enough, if your quarterback is leading your team in rushing, when you return all 5 offensive linemen and a quarterback, and I get you have young running backs behind you and young skilled players, you got to get something. And Virginia can absolutely throw it all over the field, and Vatek just lit them up. Braxton Burmeister just lit them up in week 1. So you expect Virginia not to do the exact same thing? I like Virginia. I'm talking myself into this. You know what? Just bet Virginia money line. I love it.
Hey, I mean, listen, man, I'm trying.
I don't even care. I'm excited for it. I hope I win some money off of that. Okay.
Jack, here's the deal. I'm the best there is, plain and simple. I mean, I wake up in the morning, I piss excellence.
Finally, The game of the night, 7:30 ABC. It's a whiteout. The most electric sports scene in all of college football, maybe of all the sports. The whiteout at Penn State. Comment down below. Auburn, Penn State, A or P. Number 22 Auburn is going on the road to face Penn State at home, obviously. This is the first time Auburn is going on the road to face a Big Ten opponent since 1931. That's just a fun fact for you, so use that on your friends.
That is a very fun fact.
It is a very fun fact.
I'm very amused right now.
Auburn's getting 6 points. They average 340 yards on the ground, okay? Their defense has allowed 182 yards total and 21.5 yard rushing. Again, I cannot stress this enough. They have played no significant competition. I cannot stress that enough.
They have two new coaches, right?
They have
3 new.
They have entire new coaching staff. This is
Yeah.
Boise State's old coach, not Chris
that's
Peterson, the guy after him. They average 575 yards total. Bo Nix, their quarterback, started as a true freshman, is awesome at home and terrible on the road. His QBR is 30-something on the road. He throws picks. He turns the ball over. His completion percentage goes from like 65 to 52. He's terrible. He's night and day on the road. Now you're walking into the most hostile environment in all of sports. The argument could be made in all of sports. Penn State, on the other hand, they're averaging 250 in the air, 145, and they've allowed 124 yards rushing on the ground defensively. Keys for Penn State. Can Sean Clifford continue to play clean, which he has at this point? Can they run the football and hold up against an SEC defensive line? Wisconsin's defensive line beat them up in week 1. We documented it well, and it's not getting any easier. You can say what you want, but once the players are there, and it's a little easier for defense because the crowd's not as into it when Penn State's on offense, it's going to be tough. Well, I would hope it's tough to run the ball because the Auburn's defensive line and linebackers are legit. But the thing is, Auburn's played no one, both games at home. Yes, they scored 60 points in the first 2 weeks for the first time in school history. But Bo Nix, who plays awesome at home and terrible on the road, is going to walk into a place where he should just dig a hole, lay down in it, and cover himself up with dirt because it's a recipe for disaster. So, can he right the wrongs of the past and get this done? Simeon, who you got?
I'm interested. I'm gonna answer this question, but I want to ask one first.
Sure.
Over under is 53. Is that right? Are you picking over or are you picking under? Because I honestly don't know.
I would say under.
I would say under. I would say under too. I think this is going to look a lot here. Let me just get into my spiel. I think this is going to look a lot like week 1 against Wisconsin, except less sloppy for Penn State. I think don't be surprised 17-10, 16-10 sort of deal. Also, don't be surprised here. It's Penn State's game to lose, okay? They have the home fieldist advantage.
Of all home fieldist advantages.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was going to say.
100%.
Like, we're talking, it just beats some soccer atmosphere. Well, it beats most, if not all, soccer atmospheres, which is what it's competing with.
Yeah.
Okay? Mm-hmm. So it is whiteout. I have a coworker who sold her tickets that she's now regretting because she doesn't work Saturdays anymore.
Oh, yikes.
Yeah. It is. I think you're going to get consistency from Auburn from a defensive, SEC perspective.
Sure.
That's what the SEC is good at. Can Penn State's defense hold up, and are they going to scheme enough to get past Auburn's defense which is an SEC defense. And you're getting, no offense, you're getting all the Alabama, Louisiana, all the Alabama second recruits. So you're getting a bunch of 4 and other 5-star recruits who don't want to go to Alabama or another school and want to stay close. So, yes, they played Akron. We don't know what their defense really looked like. They played Alabama State. Again, we don't know what their defense really looks like. But at the same time, kind of who knows. So that's why I'm saying it's Penn State's game to lose. I'm still taking Penn State. It's at home. It's white out. It's going to be impossible for Auburn. You want to talk about the 12th man? It's more like the 13th and the 15th man when it's white out night. And if you get the ball rolling fast, you're going to get trucked. So I'm with you with Bo Nix. He's not going to be cool under pressure. Just because you can't be cool under pressure when you're here. Tom Brady would have a hard time being cool under pressure here. It is what it is. Penn State's to lose, but I still think they're going to win. And I think it's going to be more than 5, but not barely, ladies and gentlemen.
So Penn State should always win these night out games. They should. In recent history, Penn State has not blown out any whiteout game opponent besides Michigan 3 or so years ago.
Yep.
And then they played Michigan again when Michigan was terrible, and they were blowing them out, and then Michigan came back. These whiteout games should not be as close as they are. Okay? Penn State relies so heavily on the crowd in these whiteout games that I think it's too much so. Here's the difference in Bo Nix this year compared to under the last regime.
Yeah.
It is a running football team. They are averaging 340 yards on the ground. They want to run the football. Boise State ran the football. Auburn wants to run the football. So It is, can Penn State stop Auburn's running game? Because if they do, then I think, yes, then they do win this game. However, I don't think that they can.
Yeah.
I think it is a close game. I would take the under in that scenario. But I'm taking Auburn to win outright. I think Penn State, yes, Auburn hasn't been there, but this coach used to coach a team that had to get his kids up every single week because they were playing higher competition at Boise State, especially early in the season. He's going to motivate them, and he's going to tell them, just because you're Auburn doesn't mean you're better, okay? Right. Penn State's going to have the crowd advantage. But this should be a 14-point spread right off the bat. But it's not. Because Auburn is still SEC in the trenches. Yes, it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 4 or 5 point game. So I would, you could take Auburn +6 if you wanted to. But I'm taking Auburn outright. And I really feel good about that. It's just something about this Auburn scheme running the football just seems a little different than when it was under, I can't even remember his name, but when it was under the previous regime, Gus Malzahn, thank you. Yeah. When it was under Gus Malzahn, it was pass happy. They are run happy now. Can Penn State's defense hold up? That's the key to the game. Defensively stopping the run and then protecting Sean Clifford. That is the key to the game. But just to recap, I am taking Michigan State. I am taking Alabama, but I'm taking the over. I am taking Auburn. I am taking Arizona State, and I am taking Virginia. So, with that being said, you said you had 2 locks. Is that right?
I have 2 locks this week.
Hopefully this one's better than your other one.
In case,
because it's garbage.
That's what you think of my other one. Okay? And if that doesn't help you out, we also have...
Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40!
I love it. Let's do it.
Can you guess who I'm picking?
Oklahoma State.
Oklahoma State, Boise State.
Oh.
Okay. This is an interesting game. Now, currently, Boise State is only averaging 25.5 points per game. But Boise State is averaging 42.5. And we know from in the past, Oklahoma State, if they want to, can do whatever they want, basically.
But they haven't so far.
Haven't so far. But the money line is 57.5.
The over-under, you mean?
The over-under. Sorry, not the money line. The over-under is 57.5. Okay? Boise State is averaging 42 points a game. And they will put 42 points on you.
How much is their defense given up?
Their defense has allowed, total yards allowed.
Should be right
454. That's the point that I'm trying to get out here. So, to me, this is an easy over as well.
Oh, okay.
It's a close over, just like my other one, in my opinion.
You like these over-unders, man.
Well, it was this week. I was going to go from an outright. I was thinking about NFL, but I was scrolling through because I like shopping. It relaxes me for some reason. And
you're a basic white girl.
Betting's a lot like shopping.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Betting is a lot like shopping. And so I was scrolling through FanDuel because it was a little slow at work. Bosses went home, not going to lie, and I'm leaving this job, so, you know. So I was scrolling through, saw this game, saw the over-under, know these can be two high-powered teams, know it could easily be 30-25, 30-30, 35,
Where is
25.
It? Where's the game?
Deal. It's on
Stillwater?
I think it is, hold on, let me confirm. I think it's in Boise.
Oh.
Yes.
Wow.
It's in Boise, too.
Okay.
So, and this would be a Boise State team that will drop 60 on you. So Boise could do the over-under by themselves. And it's a late game. It's a 3-hour delay, so it's technically a 6 p.m. game, but it's a 6 p.m. game, and you know in Boise they like to get crazy.
I've never been to Boise, but I'll take your word for it.
I haven't either, but their fans show up is basically what
no,
I'm saying.
I get that. There's nothing else to do.
I'm doing 2 because I've sucked so far. I'm 0-3 on all my picks, but we're taking the over on both games. And the second game is Oklahoma State, Boise State, and we're taking the over for it. And we'll see how good I am.
Excellent. I love it. All right. Well, everyone, I got to get to bed. I got an early morning tomorrow morning. Enjoy your college football.
He's watching football this week, folks. That's what he's watching.
Oh, yes. What am I watching this week? I'm watching college football all day, and then I'm actually going to enjoy the Eagles game with my father-in-law, who's a big-time Eagles fan, so I do always enjoy watching with him. That's what I'm watching this week. I'm so sorry for almost forgetting our final segment. But enjoy your week 3 of college football, everyone. Enjoy your college football Saturday, your NFL Sunday. As always, wash your hands, you filthy animals. Please be kind to one another. Respect each other's decisions, even if you don't agree with them. It's part of being a human being. For the love of all things holy. I am your host, Micaiah, along with my co-host, Simeon. God bless. Peace out. Like and subscribe, anchor.fm. This has been 4th and 1.